Thank you very much for your presentation. Yes, we will continue with engaging your presentation during the interactive session. I would like to call upon our last panelist, Manana Mdluli Tsetselelani Decide. Tsetselelani is an Indigenous Knowledge Systems lecturer at the University of Limpopo and candidate for Doctor of Philosophy in African Studies at the University of Venda. Currently enrolled for a postgraduate diploma in higher education at Durban University of Technology. She holds a master's degree in African Studies, an honors degree in Gender Studies, and degree in International Relations. She is an author in the following areas: Poverty and Development Studies, African Philosophy, Cultural Philosophy, Gender Humanitarianism, and Civil Society Organizations, Indigenous Knowledge Systems, and Knowledge Management. Mr. Tsetselelani Mdluli, the floor is yours. Ms. Tsetse, can you hear me? Let me try to contact her since I see that she can't hear.
Yeah, Matakane.
Yes, Doc.
I was informed that Ms. Mdluli is not around. I'm not sure if that information has reached you. I got it from some of the organizers. Perhaps maybe what we can do is just to give the colleagues the interaction, and then perhaps you can call it a day and maybe take it from there.
Noted. Thank you very much, Doc. Mayashri, I think you can take over from here to facilitate the interactive session.
Is Sakane there?
Can you hear me, Doc? Dr. Mteo? Dr.
Hello,
Mteo?
colleagues.
What is... Dr. Mteo, can you hear me?
Colleague, I think Ms. Mdluli is here in the session.
Mayashri, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, dear. I think your last speaker on the program is still with us from University of Limpopo.
I think she can start with the presentation now. I think I was just having challenges with my mic, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, colleagues, like as I said, I think there might be connection issues, even Tsetselelani and even Sakane, they are no longer in the floor. So I think what we should do, colleagues, like us, we are requesting, if there are questions and if there are clarity for the speakers that have already shared their ideas, we can do that. And if not, if there's no other further engagement, I don't think we should be waiting for anyone who is not here, because I'm aware that some speakers have actually apologized, but we would like to thank everybody who has been here. So Sakane is not here, and Tsetselelani, they are not here. So if there are any communications, colleagues, that we would like to do in terms of engagements, I think this is the period or the time that we can be able to do that. Now, maybe in the next 5 minutes, so that we can be able to close the session for the day.
Dr. Koitsiwa is here, Dr. Mateo, as well as Ms. Mdluli. Sakane, I can hear you, dear.
Colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Mteo. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tsakane.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna call Tatelelani to start her presentation. Miss Mdluli?
Come again, colleagues. I think I'm gonna have, because I don't know if there are more questions and more clarity, but I can see also on the chart there is no comments. It's just about those people who have just been commenting just to about the presentation of Ndade Zulu and others. So I think, colleagues, because we don't have any further engagement,
Dr.
and I
Mateo.
hope you hear me very well.
Dr. Mateo.
Are you able to hear me, colleagues?
Yes,
Yebo,
we can.
Dr. Mateo.
Can you hear us?
Is there anyone who can hear me, colleagues?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, all right. Yeah,
So
thank you. If I'm audible, because I was surprised if you are able to hear me. So it's fine, colleagues. I will
Dr.
just
Mateo?
want to make, I don't know if Ndade Zulu want to say something. I see it's like you've
Yes,
opened your
please.
mic.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just saw, I think there was somebody asking a question about how can we help how can our indigenous knowledge graduates, for example, participate in the economy, make their own business and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of contribute to that question in terms by way of the way forward. And basically, as I did mention in my presentation, and I did make underpin to the importance of innovation. So, and I did also talk about the idea of a primordial source of knowledge. And one of the, of course, things that we suffer from is the fact that our knowledge is not protected. So we lose this knowledge. So protecting knowledge is very key, because that's then when your knowledge is protected, then you can begin to make business out of that knowledge. So maybe, I don't know if there's anyone here in this audience from, let's say, CIPRO, CIPC as it's called, because I think they deal with those issues of intellectual property, that sort of stuff. It would be very productive if somebody can comment from that department, if there's somebody from that department in that question. And I think I do know also that Department of Science and Innovation, they also have something about indigenous knowledge, protection system, something like that. So I think those would also be very useful. And I just want to speak for myself that my experience, of course, has been that we have challenges in the country in terms of protecting our intellectual property, for example. I personally know that the CIPC, which provides a service on intellectual property, I log in online and then I try to register, for example, for property certificate on a particular innovation, and then their system crashes, it doesn't work, and then I send an email to the people there to address those issues, and the issue never gets resolved. So in my particular case, I ended up following the method of what is known as the blockchain. Blockchain is a new technology, because the whole principle behind intellectual property protection is to be able to have historicity, to show that I came with this idea or I possess this knowledge before this particular person, or whatever the case might be. Historicity is actually the key factor in terms of protecting knowledge. So since we're moving into the in the fourth industrial revolution, so it's going to be important to look at these other technologies, especially blockchain, because blockchain allows you to, for example, protect your data. So if you invented something, then it can be registered on the blockchain, and then you get your key there and the certificate that shows that, okay, on the particular date, you registered this particular knowledge, you see. And in future, if there are any disputes or something like that, then in a court of law, you can show this blockchain certificate that actually, because blockchain can be independently verified. Because remember that the blockchain, what is known as a Bitcoin, it works on the blockchain technology, and it is possible to have an independent verification of the entry there, because the ledger in the blockchain is protected and is also public, as opposed to, let's say, your normal banks, their ledger is private. So we don't really know what's going on there. Even if they make changes, you are not able to independently verify that. So I just wanted to say that it's going to be key to also to think about protecting that knowledge prior to actually engaging in business, because your issue is that once you engage in business and you don't have a proof of your innovation, then the person who started first is gonna override your rights. So I wanted to make that point very important. And I think also maybe in terms of, or maybe I should just rest there so that I can give other people an opportunity to comment on that. Thank you.
Dr. Zulu, thank you very much. I think we are trying to get Ms. Ndluli to share her screen. If the technical team can assist us to share Ms. Ndluli's screen, please. Also, if you can unmute your mic, ma'am, then we can at least have audio.
Where is she?
Yes. Is that Sakane?
No, I was just checking Tsatalani in the under participants. I was just checking if she's still present, because she was just here a few moments ago. It seems she's not with us.
She just responded. All right. I think we can decide whether we continue with tomorrow in one of the other sessions, perhaps
Yes,
in the later afternoon sessions tomorrow, where we have Lubisi, etc. Sakane, I'm not sure if we're going to, I think Dr. Moteo was indicating that we close the interactive session, and if there's any final comments by any of the other panelists.
No problem. I think we can close the session and then we can take comments from the panelists.
All right. Dr. Zulu has provided us with some of his insights there. If Dr. Sedupane has got a 2-minute contribution, same with to be soon. We are prophesizing Dr. Makanike, and we'll recap or catch up with Ndluli tomorrow. Colleagues, 2 minutes, Dr. Sedupane.
Okay. I think I can just say to the students and colleagues that the issues that we're discussing are very difficult issues, and they don't just face IKS field or students or graduates, but they face the whole world. And with the current COVID issues, things are going to get more and more challenging. So the more that we apply ourselves in our field, the more we become experts at what we do, the more we'll be able to distinguish ourselves and make ourselves attractive to people who may want to have us or be able to produce those products or services that will be attractive to the market. So there are no easy answers to the issues. So be prepared to really put in also your weight behind your desires. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sedupane, for that inspirational and motivational contribution there. I have Alex also that would like to ask us a question, Malapane, from the previous session. We'll take you first and then we'll go to our last panelist.
Thank you so much, Program Director. My question actually was going to the incoming Dr. Makanike. He mentioned a few things regarding which I want to actually comment on or to ask questions based on. It's one, the number of graduates are not able to find employment. And number two, he mentioned that the program was the first group graduated in 2018. So I wanted to check that when the qualification was developed in the initial place or in the initial environment, what was the motivation for it? Because that will help us to link students and even opportunities that could arise. For example, if there was a need for us to, professionalize this sector or this industry that the student falls under, that could be a motivation for us to start looking at what areas can we link them to, more especially from an external point of view. The second question regarding that is that what is the strategy that the university or even other universities are putting in place, and what kind of support do they need externally? Because I saw a list where he was talking about museums and other places where they can work, but I really wanted a clear sort of direction of what do you want as a help, so that we can try to see how do we link those students. That did not come right, or that did not come clear as to what exactly do universities or institutions want, so that the student can be absorbed. Then the third angle was, do we have, for example, internship programs or even or integrated learning opportunities outside that we can start to champion for, or even put forward our position to institutions that can offer such? Because I think institutions don't even know that this kind of degrees exist. So we need a lot of machinery that can take the message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And then I invite Rema Kanike to please respond and then make his final submission of comments.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Mr. Malapane, for such a wonderful and thought-provoking questions. That perhaps because of the time that I was given, I was rushing into things so that I can cover all those things, and probably left details that are needed in terms of moving us forward. Of course, the thought behind the degree, my understanding is that it has to do with achieving the aim and objectives of the policy itself, which talks to the issues of recognizing IKS nationally as a nation in terms of the policy framework, affirming it and promotion and protecting the IKS through that degree. All those things are achieved. But in terms of professionalization, of course, this is a professional degree that it's unfortunate that as of now we don't have a professional body that, like a professional body of lawyers, for instance, the Law Society, or even that of social work. We don't have such body as yet that governs and provide right directions and accountability in terms of the implementation of such, or the professionalization of the IKS. And perhaps maybe that's something that we need to think around and see, especially as the consortium of universities that are offering IKS. I think there's a need for us to, have roundtable discussions around the curriculum and develop a lot of, programs and deal with a lot of issues that are appearing to be hanging in terms of the program. The list that I did is just, you know, a brainstorming list, looking at a number of places where we take our students in terms of the work integrated learning. So the program of work integrated learning is there. I've talked much about it in terms of it's a 6-month project or program where in their final year they go into workplace and work there and learn there in that particular area. So of course we will be very much interested to collaborate with more institutions that deals with the IKS and any direction that we can be pointed to. And I think we'll be happy to engage in such discussions such that we can get more institutions that are that are dealing with IKS, so that we can take our students there in diverse, agencies, so that they can gain such, professional, skills and knowledge with regard to IKS. And I think we need to have more conversation along those lines, Mr. Alex, and we welcome all the suggestions and help that we can get in terms of the museum. I just mentioned museums because most of the museums has got a lot of to do with IKS, storing cultural artifacts and all historical effects that has to do with the African way of life or indigenous way of life. And there's a lot to be learned there, and there's a lot that IKS students can help in terms of researching about more artifacts or museum, things that can be stored there and how they can be stored. Now we are on the first industrial revolution. We should be talking about the digital museums, and I think the IKS students can contribute more on that in terms of their generation being the technological generation. So at the moment, we don't have the internship program, but the internship program in terms of the curriculum is the work integrated learning. So perhaps maybe we need to engage more stakeholders with regard to that, such that our students, our graduates can also benefit in the the current and ongoing internship programs that certain the departments has and certain private sector institutions has, especially relating to IKS. I think that will be a very good initiative, and we are open to such discussion and engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Makanike. Please, also, if you can make note of some of the comments in the chat as well from Prof. Vonani Nechandama. Prof, we're not able to see your hand, I think, on the participant list, but she's raised basically the points of to what extent are the new curriculum, going to include innovation, design, thinking, and entrepreneurship, including innovation, as well as what are the learning outcomes in the work integrated learning program. So I think in terms of taking this forward for discussions tomorrow and the way forward, I think those are some of the considerations we must have. There are also inquiries about the limit in terms of number of intake per year, which means there's an increasing demand for IKS teaching programs in the different institutions. So colleagues, I'm going to take us over to, it's been a long day, and I think we're going to take ourselves to some announcements by Dr. Koitsiwe, and then we'll close for the day. Dr. Koitsiwe, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mayashi. And also, I would like to thank all the panelists and the chairs, including the deans, the deputy deans that have been here, Dr. Farelo, and also our dean, executive dean, Professor Mudise. I also realized that our vice chancellor has been with us. He has been very patient with us for almost the entire summit. I hope he's still there. And also, we look forward, colleagues, for tomorrow's engagement. And I think what I can also say is that Mem Guli from University of Limpopo, I think we are going to give a chance also tomorrow to make sure that even contributions can also be taken into consideration, because since they are also on the same platform like us at the University of Limpopo, they are planning to launch their programs, I think, next year or other years. So I think their experiences and lessons from their side is also very vital. But I can say we had actually very robust debate, and I would like to also thank you, Dr. Mayashi, for chairing the session, including even the other chairs that also hosted some of the sub-themes that are also actually very relevant to what we've been saying. And I think, colleagues, this summit, like most of you have said, is just a space that we have created for more engagement, because I think the summit will not be a silver bullet to the challenges that we are facing. I think there still more have to be more strategic engagement, and we will have to take advantage of the fact that we have support from our institutions, and we have to find a way, especially now, how to involve private sector and business in our initiative. I think all the speakers, if you are listening to their presentation, it's almost like they had a caucus before the summit, but I know most of them, they come from different areas, but you could hear and you could also analyze their presentation to say they were speaking towards the same vision of how can we able to come up with innovative ways. So I think tomorrow we'll have Prof. Vunani, and also we're going to have Professor Drummond, and we'll also have the Honorable Prof. Kwadi, including the minister. And if the minister is not there, of course, we know that they will send the representative. They have honored this invitation, and I think through the office of the VC, we are communicating with the office of the minister to actually make sure that tomorrow, if the minister personally is not there, of course, there will be a representative. But of course, we are there. We are going to push the works, and the colleagues, with those few words and those few remarks, I would like to say thank you very much, colleagues, for your time and for the efforts. And even I know some of you are connecting through your own, cost there. But some of the students that we brought here, we managed to get data for them so that they can be able to connect. And I'd like also to thank the colleagues from the Department of Science and Innovation. They've been also with us for the rest of the summit. We also look forward to their presentations tomorrow. And I also like to thank the poets who also contributed to breaking the momentum. It has been a very long day, and it's not very easy to sit in a Zoom for so many hours. But thank you, colleagues. There were a few technical glitches, but I don't want to prolong this session. I would like to thank you, Baba Kuzwayo, also. We also look forward to your presentation. Babaling in this session. I saw Gogo Tobeka and others who are also in the forums of RPL nationally to implement some of these important projects. So colleagues, I'm not a speaker. I was just giving some direct and important information for tomorrow. Salane kahle, salan sindla bagaethu, ayebe Maroko, Togosa Makozi, thank you very much. Dameson here, Ralebucha. And also thank you to the service provider. Thank you, colleagues.